My name is Badrul Alam. I am an activist working with an organization called Bangladesh Krishok Federation. Bangladesh Krishok Federation was established in 1976. Since its inception, Bangladesh Krishok Federation emphasized on the question of land. It conducted a survey among the peasants living in the southern part of Bangladesh, and the objectives of the survey was to find the expectation of the peasants in the country. After the survey, the findings came out that peasants, small-scale peasants, landless, want to have a piece of land because they considered it to be a source of livelihood in the rural area. So, Bangladesh Krishok Federation started land occupation movement since then, and in 1990, it occupied some areas in the southern part, but that was not a successful movement. There was a setback. After that setback, the organization evaluated the whole movements, and they came up with new strategy, and it involved the massive participation of women, and it also underscored the question of legal aspect. And based on this strategy, in 1992, the organization was able to take over again the massive area in the southern part, and that was very successful movement. And there was a clash between the landless people and big landowners, Muslims in the rural area. Finally, the Muslim or big landowners were defeated in the unity of landless people. So it is an ongoing movement since 1992, and so far we have been able to occupy 76,000 acres of land, and we have distributed this land among more than 100,000 landless men and women, and these people are maintaining a very dignified life nowadays with the land. And before the occupation, they had very neglected life because they couldn't grow anything, and they were bound to stay in others' land, and they were just a land worker or landless, and that was very pity for leading their life. So the land occupation has become a very successful strategy towards food sovereignty in our organization. We think that it is closely related to food sovereignty, which is a global campaign, and which actually capacitate the peasants to grow their own food on their own land, and that is also related to their peasants' human right, because in other sector, especially in the labor sector, they have their labor right, but in the bar sector of peasants, agriculture, they don't have any right which is mentioned in the UNO convention. So it is also one of the point that Bangladesh Krishok Federation is pushing the food sovereignty issue in relation to the peasants' human rights. And it is an ongoing campaign, but at the same time, we are also stressing on the question of climate change, because most of our people who are living in the southern part, in the coastal belt, beside the Bay of Bengal, are facing the serious impact of climate change. And there is a prediction from the environmental scientists, even from IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that one third of the country will go underwater by 2050. That is seriously alarming to the people who are living in the fringe area, like southern part Bangladesh. And it is also predicted that 30 million people will be affected by the impact of climate change. And nobody knows what will happen to their life. But it is quite clear that they have to be climate migrants, as they are not able to stay with the land, with their agriculture. They have to migrate to other places. So there will be huge displacement in the rural area, and that would be also a big burden for the state, because already Bangladesh is a densely populated country with an area of 144 square kilometers, but the number of population is 160 million. So the migrants, climate migrants, will give rise to the existing problems. So we are very much concerned with this issue. And as far as we are concerned with the climate issue, we think that we have to resist the climate change, and we have to build some kind of networking on this issue at national level, at regional level, also global level, because it is not only a issue which is prevailing in Bangladesh, it is a global issue. So we need to have very much global connectivity around this issue. And we held a climate change, gender and food sovereignty caravan in 2011. The main objective of the caravan was to reach the people who are affected on the ground, and to know from them, and to know how they are adapting to climate change, and what they are thinking about the solutions. We would consider their thinking as grassroots solution, and we wanted to put emphasis on their own solutions. And that was very successful caravan. We started that caravan from the north, and we traveled 1,500 kilometers until south, and we met a huge number of people on the way of caravan, and they are very interesting people, and they expressed their own opinions, and that was very essential for the caravan. And those who participated in the caravan benefited a lot, because there are many things that they didn't know before. So because of Caravan, they have been able to understand the consequence of the climate change. Especially in the northern part, people are facing the desertification process, and they also face excess rain, unusual cold or unusual hot spell. Even they are facing the problem in their season circle. In the past, they had there are 6 seasons, and they could predict everything around their agriculture. But nowadays, it's not possible to predict because they don't know when the flood will start, when rain will start, or they cannot make any prediction about the monsoon. This is because of change in season circle. So, a lot of experience that we gathered from the last Caravan. And at the end of Caravan, the participant decided to hold the Caravan at South Asian level, covering Bangladesh, India, and Nepal, because they could consider that it is also necessary to reach the people affected in India, also Nepal. So we need to make awareness at South Asian level. So that time we decided to hold next Caravan, which is called Climate Justice Caravan. And we have the plan to hold this Caravan this coming November. It will start from Bangladesh through India to Nepal. And this is going to take place just before the next UNFCCC Caravan to be held in Lima, Peru. So we have the plan to gather the people experience, Bangladesh, India, and Nepal. And we want to send the message from the Caravan to the UNFCCC so that they can take into account the people's agenda. Because always it is the fact that the solution is coming from the top, and the fact is that they are not experienced enough about the grassroots situation. So always the decisions are imposed on the people, on the affected people. So we have the plan to send the grassroots solution to the UNFCCC to be taken off. That our efforts, it depends on whether they will accept or not. But we want to go with this. And Bangladesh Krishok Federation is also engaged in different global campaign, especially around food sovereignty. It is the member of La Via Campesina, which is a international of peasants organization, which has individual member around 200 millions around the globe. And its head office was based in Jakarta, but last year or the starting of this year, it has shifted to Zimbabwe, because now we have a new female coordinator at global level. So this international network is also helping in our struggle. This international network is much favoring the environmental issue, the ecological issue, and also climate change issue, food sovereignty. And this international is trying to push all of this concept to the policymakers like Food and Agriculture Organization or IFAD or UNFCCC. So as a whole, I think the peasants or small-scale farmers around the world are suffering a lot But on the other hand, the important thing is that they are on the rise and they are trying to raise their voice that didn't take place before. So now it is really impressive that we can see that the peasants are raising their voice during UNFCCC or any other international meetings or conference. And this is because of the connectivity built among the peasants. So it's really important. We want to go with all of this strategy, and Bangladesh Krishok Federation is very much active part of this global campaign. And Krishok Federation has also many other campaign, especially on GMO, because we are totally against genetically modified organism. This is because of the fact that due to green revolutions that started mid-60s, we have been suffering a lot. Our whole agriculture has been turned into so-called modern farming, although it is not like the industrial farming in Europe or America, but it is also some sorts of shift from the traditional to modern. And our peasants are compelled to use pesticide and chemical fertilizer, which is seriously detrimental to the soil, environment, even microorganism. And we have lost a lot of species of crops, and even lots of birds disappeared because birds are dependent to pesticide, or also crops in the field, and when they eat the pest or crops in the field, they just die and they disappears as a species. So it's a very alarming to the whole human being, I think. And when we are facing a problem with the hybrid as well as so-called green revolution, we are coming in touch with the genetically modified organism, which is more dangerous than hybrid, we know. And recently, the Ministry of Agriculture approved BT brinjal or eggplant. And we know this BT brinjal or eggplant are not good. It will create a problem within the farming community, and it will compel our farmers to buy seeds from multinationals. And in Bangladesh, it has been done with the help of Mahiko and the Monsanto. And the government has also other plan to introduce BT cotton, and we know it is also very dangerous. In India, the farmers committed suicide going with the BT cotton because there was a big crops failure, and even they were indebted because of cultivation of BT cotton, and there was a massive suicidal incident, and we know around 250,000 peasants committed suicide for BT cotton. So all of this is known to policymakers, but still they are going with this BT cotton and BT brinjal. Why? It's quite clear that they are in favor of transnational corporations. They are just serving the interest of transnational corporations. They are not for the peasants. That's the question. We need a very much peasants-friendly government, peasants-friendly policy, and the country also introduced a national agricultural policy, which is totally serving the interest of the transnational corporations, not for peasants. We need a policy which will be a peasant-based policy. Peasant will be the center of the policy. But nowadays, what they are introducing in the name of agricultural policy is actually serving the interest of transnational corporations, which is pity, really pity. We oppose it.